was alone without you. Nothing but blue. Sea to sea. In these waves, we come rolling home.
Hello and welcome to the 5th installment of my series Laying Down the Sound. Last week I finished up with my song Colored Balloon, and this week I'll start talking about my song Unraveling. This song, Unraveling, is quite a bit simpler than Colored Balloon, both in terms of its composition and its actual recording. And this goes along with the fact that it's one of the shorter songs on my album, coming in at just about 4 minutes long. So just for some background, I came up with this song while in my dorm room on campus last semester. And this means that I came up with all the guitar parts, not with this guitar, but with my other acoustic guitar, which is currently in Michigan. And that guitar is also the one you can see in the featured image above my video. And I want to mention also that this song came together rather quickly and easily in comparison to the other songs on my album. And that makes sense given its simplicity. Alright, so I'll start with that main guitar riff that can be heard in the intro of the song and in the first verse of the song. And you already heard this at the very beginning of this video. I'll remind you real quick. So it simply goes between two chords. Those two. And then it's a rather straightforward picking pattern. Now, oddly enough, I came up with these two chords by starting with the same chord that led me to discover the riff for Colored Balloon. So if you remember, I came up with that riff by trying to play this chord, but accidentally playing it here, and then moving that up to here. In this case, I also started out with this chord. And I can't say whether it was by accident or intention. I ended up moving this from the 2nd and 4th frets up to the 3rd and 5th frets in order to get these three notes. And then the second chord is just a slight variation of that shape. Instead of this, which includes the 4th string 3rd fret right there, and the 5th string 5th fret right here, I switched the 5th string to the 3rd fret, the 4th string to the 5th fret, and that made way for the riff. And I like the simplicity of this riff. It feels satisfying, sure, comfortable, calming, a bit mesmerizing. And so basically the main guitar part repeats that same 2-chord picking pattern. So now I'll go over coming up with the vocal melody for this picking pattern. And interestingly enough, the first lyric of the song, I Was Alone, came to me from the very start. Those are just the words that came out naturally when I decided to create a vocal melody for this picking pattern. And then later down the road when I get to the lyrics, I'll show how the theme of the song and the rest of the lyrics were built upon that initial line, I was alone. So that initial vocal melody I came up with was this.
I was alone. Da-da-da.
So then getting to the chorus picking part, it's very similar in terms of its rhythm and flow to the verse picking part. In fact, my right hand does nothing differently. What does occur are some slight variations in my finger placement on the fretboard. So whereas the verse was this, the chorus is this. So it's kind of hard to explain exactly what I'm doing there. But essentially throughout the entire song up to this point, the song is built on the two bass notes here and here. And that repetition, I think, kind of lulls the listener into a sense of predictability and comfortability with that simple two-chord picking pattern. So then when it hits the chorus and that bass note changes to something else for the first time, it kind of evinces a sense of relief, at least for me. It feels like exhaling. It's a pleasant change. So that bass note, which was repeatedly this one and this one, now opens up into the open string on the 5th string. Right there. And I think my favorite part of this chorus picking pattern is when I hit this note right here. So again, the chorus goes. And right there, I like that. So the vocal melody for the chorus goes like this, and I'll lead in from the verse.
Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da da da. Da da
Now again, to come up with that vocal melody, I just tried random sounds over that picking pattern until I came across something I liked. And as far as that ooh part at the end, I felt that would be a good transition from the more mellow first half of the song into a more energetic second half. Now up to this point, I've got that picking pattern for the intro to the song, the first verse of the song, and then I have slight variations to that picking pattern for the first chorus of the song. And for all those parts, I also have vocal melodies. So now getting into that more energetic second half of the song, that starts with the second verse. And this second verse relies upon the same chords as the first one, but this time instead of a picking pattern, I chose to strum to add that energy. So first with this chord, if you try to just strum that, it doesn't sound very good. So in order to make that a strummable chord, I had to add a pinky finger on the 5th fret on the 2nd string, right below my ring finger. And then also I had to avoid hitting the 6th string while strumming. So it should sound like this. And that's the chord I wanted to use. But if I accidentally hit the 6th string, it doesn't really fit with the rest of the resonance there. And then for the second chord, which was this, it already sounds great on its own, but I decided to keep that pinky down on the 5th fret 2nd string to get this sound. So I'd be alternating between this and this. So then with those two chords in mind, and with the intention of using a very similar vocal melody to the one used in the first verse, I came up with the following strumming pattern. So I really liked how that sounded, and it just had a lot more energy than the first verse. And as you probably noticed, the alternations between the two chords come more frequently in this second verse than they did in the first verse. So the first verse went like this. Whereas this one goes like this. So it's clear that in that strumming version, I'm playing each chord for a shorter amount of time than I did while picking in the first verse. And you might also have noticed that the bass notes are really prominent in this strumming pattern. In fact, I'm continually plucking those bass notes between each strum. So I'll play it again. So those bass notes are really important to the overall sound of the song, whether you hear them or not while listening. Okay, so the vocal melody in the second verse is pretty similar to the one in the first verse. Of course, it's a little bit sped up because the alternations between the chords are more frequent, but it's very similar, and I'll show you what I mean. I was alone, da-da-da, da-da-da-da. And then that second verse with its strumming pattern and vocal melody leads right into the second chorus, which again is based on the same exact chords as the first chorus, but this time around they're strummed. So it goes like this, and I'll lead in from the verse. So it's exactly the same chords, just strummed. And again, I like how this adds more energy to the chorus, and I just like how it sounds. And then I'll do it with the vocal melody, which is the same as the one in the first chorus. The only difference is that I don't do the ooh part at the end. So up to this point, I have the short intro, which is just that picking pattern. And then I have the first verse, which is that same picking pattern. And then I've got the first chorus, which includes some variations of that same picking pattern. And then I've got the second verse, which is a more energetic strumming version of that verse chord progression. And then I've got the second chorus, which again is just a strumming version of the first chorus. So next time I'll get into the strumming pattern that serves as a backdrop for the solo at the end of the song, and then I'll also get into the lyrics of the song, and I'll include a full acoustic performance of the song. Alright, so thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.